To conclude, I rate this book a 9 out of 10. Hey, what's up guys? My name's Andrew Kirby, and by watching this video you will learn all of the main benefits that you can learn from the book The Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. So let's get right into it. Ego is the Enemy explores many of the negative impacts of the ego on contemporary and historical figures. There are many different definitions for the ego, but the one that's used in the book is this: an unhealthy belief in our own importance, arrogance, self-centered ambition. From this definition you can see that the ego is always negative. We all have it and it's our responsibility to keep it in check. The book covers the 3 different stages that we all go through in life and how the ego can knock us off of our path in all 3 of the stages. The first stage is aspiration, where we dream about our goals. The second stage is success, when we've achieved our goals. And the third stage is failure, when we fail our goals. For each of these stages, Ryan gives us practical advice that we can use as we go through each of these stages. He covers things like how we should treat other people, how we can stay humble, how we can deal with failure, and so much more. The ability to evaluate one's own ability is the most important skill of all. Without it, improvement is impossible, and certainly ego makes it difficult every step of the way. If you're watching this, then it means you want more. You're aspiring big things. But do you know what the biggest obstacle is? Well, it's yourself, and more specifically, it's your ego. Ryan says that the climb towards success creates dangerous openings from where your ego can burst through. In the attempt to go forwards, you end up going backwards. We start talking about our future achievements. We talk about them all day long, but we hardly ever execute them. We start wanting to lead everything, and we rarely trust others. Because of this, it's important that we recognize and identify the ego both in ourselves and in other people. Here are the main points that Ryan makes during this phase of our lives, and the first one is that we talk too much and we do too little. You see, our ego loves to tell people about all these great things that we're doing, but when it comes down to it, we don't actually do it. You see, by talking to people about the great things you're doing, your mind thinks that you're actually doing these great things because you're getting the gratification from other people, when in reality you're not. And the second point is the ego thinks that we know everything. It's important to recognize that every single person you meet, you can learn something from. And the ego just refuses this. It thinks that we know everything, but in reality, we know hardly anything in the grand picture. And the third thing, live in the present. You see, when we're dreaming about big things, it's easy just to get caught up in those imaginations and fail to recognize that at the moment, you're on the journey there. Ground yourself in the present moment and love every single step of the way. Don't let your ego get in the way of you doing this. Don't think that you're better than doing small menial tasks, because that is the journey and you have to learn to love it. And finally, it's to restrain yourself. Don't let your ego get affected by the haters. Instead, restrain yourself. Keep calm and completely ignore them. Your ego will want to get caught up in them to prove them wrong or something like that, but don't let this happen. Success is intoxicating, yet to sustain it requires sobriety. As I'm sure you can guess, success is the part where the ego can be inflated the most. So many people work hours and hours and hours, years and years and years to achieve success, only to let it crumble down because their ego got too big, because they didn't realize that success is fleeting once you have it. Success is a double-edged sword, so we must have the mindset capable of wielding this dangerous weapon. You see, the ego only wants short-term gratification, but in reality, success is a long-term thing. We need to prepare ourselves to be patient for the long-term journey, and we can do this by keeping on learning. Because we're successful, many egotistical people find out that they don't feel like they have to learn, and they feel like they have to pretend that they know a lot more than they actually do. Instead, keep your mind humble and fresh, and learn everything as much as you can. And the second point to keep your ego in check is to remember how insignificant you are. This is simply done by going out and looking at the stars at night. Imagine yourself zooming out of your body and realize how many other people that there are in life. You're just a tiny speck in the whole universe. The world doesn't revolve around you. You're just a small part of it. I also want you to remember that you are important. You're only relatively important, however. And thirdly, you should stay sober. For many people, success acts like a drug. Instead, you should stay away from this, remember who you are, and act within your morals at all times. And finally, you need to be beware of the disease that's inside of you. You see, the ego loves to boast about yourself, to think that you're everything that the world needs. But in reality, you shouldn't fall in love with yourself. You must keep yourself humble, especially in times of success. The future bears down upon each one of us with all the hazards of the unknown. Plutarch. Failure is something that we all go through in life at some point, and it's important to recognize how we can keep our ego in check from it. You see, if we don't keep our ego in check, the ego will make it much more difficult to bounce back from failure. Here are some lessons that Rian recommends that you learn to keep your ego in check through failure. And number 1, you must always keep the fire going. When you are in failure or defeat, your ego gets crushed and it's difficult to keep the passion inside of you, but you must keep going. You must keep working. You must keep the fire lit inside of your belly at all times. Number 2, you must draw the line. In failure, it's easy to avoid our principles, but especially in failure, you must stick to your deep down morals and don't let yourself be swayed around in the wind like a blowing tree. Instead, keep sturdy and follow your principles at all times. And finally, you must always love. The ego makes it easy for you to blame yourself and think that you're a failure, but this is the wrong way that you should think about it. You must love yourself, for everyone makes mistakes. Make sure to not let your ego completely shatter you. To conclude, I rate this book a 9 out of 10, and I highly recommend that you all go pick it up. There's a link in the description if you're interested in that. But anyway, that's it from me, guys. If you've enjoyed the video, then like it, and if you want to see more videos, then subscribe. I do videos that you can use, that you can benefit every single day to make your life a little bit better day by day by day. So if you want to start improving your life, then subscribe down below. But I'll see you later.